Hi everyone, and thanks for joining and giving the time me to share some knowledge with you. So today's session is on the extending analytics reporting with the Sitecore xDB data. So the agenda of this session is, I hope you are able to see the agenda screen. Yeah, it's taking some time. So I will be covering via introduction, then overview of Sitecore xDB XConnect, then Sitecore xDB data storage, and then ways to access Sitecore xDB data. After that, I will be providing a overview of one of the integration where we can utilize the reporting tool called Power BI, and we can create a extensive report as per your need. And then we can have a Q&A session, and you can feel free to stop me at any given point of time if you have any query. Introduction already given by Anandita about myself. So I will be just jumping into the introduction. So in this session, as I said, that I will be covering more on the Sitecore xDB part and the XConnect, and what are the benefit with the XConnect and how the XConnect is providing the ways to push the data to the any of the data source of your need or wherever you wanted to push, and how the data which you collected from the XConnect, which stored into the xDB, can be utilized to create a reporting as per your need with the help of any external integration or with the help of any you can say that a data which is stored in the xdb you can pull up and use any uh, javascripting framework or any server side thing to render the report as per your need. So coming to the xdb is a experience database which generally will store all the user interaction, or you can say that the web activity or a activity performed by user on your web properties that will be stored into the xdb with the help of a xconnect collection services and xconnect collection search. So xconnect collection is basically utilized by the content delivery server where you are get or set the operation, and xconnect collection search will be mostly utilized by your cm role to show the data in terms of the list manager, or you are having a analytics things. So in those cases, this will be used. So there will be no service currently present apart from the XConnect, which can be directly connect with the XDB. And XDB, as I said, that XDB store all the user's experience, whatever you are performing on your website, it will be stored into the XDB. So coming to the XConnect. So XConnect is the service layer and the API endpoint. Prior to Sitecore 9, it was not as a API endpoint. It was tightly coupled with the Sitecore. Now it will be a, you can say that the API endpoint, and you can also scale this as per your need. Suppose if you are having a more than if you are having a more load on your website in terms of the analytics, so you can utilize and do the horizontal scaling of the XConnect itself. And XConnect basically will responsible for all interaction in the website, and it will be utilized by a, you can say that a XConnect collection search is there, search indexer. These are the parts of the XConnect which are utilized, and there is a XP services is there that is also having some sort of component behind the scene which will be utilized by the experience services. So XConnect basically consists of a following component like a collection services, search service, search indexer, and collection database. Collection service, as I explained in the previous slide, is utilized by the CD role. Search service basically utilized by the CM role, and search indexer is nothing but whatever the data is being pushed, how it will be indexed into the Solar side, because at the end, every data which you are seeing in the reporting or any Sitecore interface, backend interface, it will be coming directly from the search only. It's not directly making a call to the database. Any question till this point?
Also, feel free to drop in any questions you might have on the chat, so Amit can take a look at that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm moving to the next slide. So as I was explaining, it's a API layer. So you can see that in the left hand side, you are having the consumer of the XConnect Web API, and XConnect API is nothing but a OData based API. So you can make a queries to that XConnect API, and XConnect API is providing a two types of flavors. One flavor is that you can run your code within a Sitecore context, and other way is that you can utilize the XConnect API endpoint in a non-Sitecore context. Suppose if you are writing or you wanted to consume data from Sitecore into any other of your application, right, where the context is same. In those cases, you can use the non-Sitecore context. You can say that the namespaces, right, to get a data from the Sitecore. For example, if you are writing a headless CMS based application, so generally in those cases, you will not try to hit the direct Sitecore from your headless application like a Node.js server. So you basically creating a proxy layer in between. Like suppose if you are having this XConnect client API, suppose you are having a proxy layer which will internally make a call to the XConnect client OData endpoint, and you can get or set the data into that. And after data is being pushed to the XConnect API, so you are seeing here is a processing server, collection, search, and reportings are there. So those are the you can say that the downstream system which will be processing the data for your need. And this is a more other way of representing how XConnect collect the data. That is a content management is using the XConnect search, and the content delivery is using the XConnect collection service. So in the upcoming slide, I will be going to explain about a Sitecore xDB data storage. So Sitecore xDB data storage means that what type of tables are present and where the data is being stored by the Sitecore, because all the interactions, whatever the action performed by the user are being stored in the form of interaction, as well as if you are having any custom facets, so you will be having a contact facets table which will be storing all the facets data with respect to any contact. So generally Sitecore, if you are creating any of the Sitecore topology like XP0, XP1, so you will be having a two shards databases, shard 0 and shard 1. So those also can be increased as per your need. So it's some type of a database mechanism to improve the performance. So whenever you are making a call, or so it will combine the data and it will return to you. And if you will see in this, so sorry, so there is a you are seeing the XDB collection contact database. I hope you are able to see that screen where the database listing is displaying.
I see the tables.
Yeah.
Shard 0 tables. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in this, you are able to see that we are having the XDB collection contact table is there, and in Sitecore, whenever you are making a first call to your CD server, right? At that time, you are the anonymous user because you have not been identified. Then, with the help of your IP address, there will be unique ID or a contact ID will be generated. So when you will become a known contact by subscribe to anything, and you have written a code in the form like identify as, and you are setting some personal information facets, then you will be becoming a known user from the anonymous user. So in those cases, Sitecore XConnect code base will convert to you from the unknown contact to the known contact. So in those cases, all your previous interaction will be replaced with the known. So for all the users, whenever you will hit, this entry will be created in the Sitecore contact, and there is a contact facets table is there. Suppose you are having the personal information facets, data will be present here. And if you are doing any type of interaction with your website, like you are accessing, suppose page A, page B, or you are uh, firing any goal into your website, or you are achieving any engagement value with respect to contact. So all data is being stored in the interaction facets. And whenever you need to access the data from the Sitecore, right, from the XNet. So this is the core collection model is there. So here you are seeing that contact is the main entity. So from the contact, you can only make a query on an ID and the last modified date. And it is also being used in the interaction database. So these are the C#, you can say that the POCO classes, which can be utilized while you are writing a code with respect to the XConnect. So as I was telling that all the data is being stored around the contact entity. So device profile, interaction, contact identifier, interaction initiator, all these beings are connected or having a relationship with the contact. So if you are having the contact ID of any user, then you will be easily able to get all the data or the user journey data with respect to that contact. And this is the contact entity. Contact entity is having a detail in the email address facets, consent information. So from Sitecore 10 onwards, you will be having a consent information facet. This is very useful to implement the GDPR thing. And the list of the subscription means if you have subscribed to any list, so those details will be present, or the subscription list detail will be present in this facet. Personal information is the out of the box facet, which will be generally store the PI data. And suppose if you are writing any registration form where you are capturing a user department or a user company name, so you can create your own personal facets and you can tag data while registering a user to the system.
Hey, Amit, there's one question. Are you able to see the question in the chat, or do you want me to read it out?
No, I am able to see.
Okay. So there's a question from Rajesh. Right.
Yeah.
Go on.
So what happened that by default, Sitecore is not providing any out-of-the-box restriction to collect any of the data. So if you wanted to implement your website with the GDPR compliant or EU, UK region or the US region or the China, so you need to explicitly implement those gates into your website. So as I said that Sitecore 10 onwards, there is a one config entry is present in the configuration, and that is called the explicit consent. So the meaning of that is that if you will enable or mark that entry true, then when you will be accessing a website, Sitecore will not create a sc underscore analytics underscore cookie, because Sitecore XConnect will go and check that if that cookie is present, right? Then only it will start tracking the details. But if you will explicit mark the consent property true, then by default that cookie will be not present. So how you will create that? You need to implement some sort of, you can say that the pop-up menu or any button like you are seeing the OneTrust, right? So they will be providing a uh, accept cookie, or you can say that the reject cookie. So on the basis of that, you need to make a call to the server side code where you need to, there is a method in XConnect called tracker dot get consent, right, or set consent. So you need to set the consent on the basis of your cookie value. Then only Sitecore will start capturing the data. I hope I will be able to answer. Shall I proceed?
Yeah, go ahead. Cool.
So this is a snapshot of the contact facet as I was explaining that all the facets related to the user where you are storing the data will be stored in the contact facet, and with the help of a contact ID you can get that data. And here I have tried to get the data from the database with the help of some SQL query, and you can see that you will be easily able to get whatever data you wanted from the database. So why I am showing that in the later slides, I will be showing that how these will be useful while you are directly accessing the database. And this is a sample of the interaction table where all the interaction with respect to a specific user. So as I said that whatever you are searching, whatever the goals, or if you are accessing any page, Sitecore will store all your interaction in a interaction table. Also, it will store the start date and time also when the interaction have been started and when they ended. Why? Because when you will open the Sitecore experience profile and select any user, so in that activity you are seeing a number of entries. So all those entries are based on how much time you have spent on the website. Now I will be moving to the how you can access the Sitecore xDB data and you can push to any external system or how you can orchestrate. So our requirement is that we need to utilize the analytics data to build a extendable reporting for the end user. So in this case, Sitecore, because why we need to generally create a rely on the another reporting system, because Sitecore analytics, you can say that the experience analytics reporting system will not provide you the extensive reporting. For example, if you are having any content, right, and you need to verify that if some specific user access this specific page how many times, or this page is accessed by a number of users how many times, and if you wanted to know that if you are having a contact and how many times they have accessed your specific page and what type of data they are searching into your search pages. So all those data you will be not having by default in your website, Sitecore Experience Analytics reporting. But with the help of a external reporting tools like a Power BI, you can create that. So Sitecore is providing you with three ways to do that. One is that you can access XConnect Client API in the Sitecore context. Other is in the XConnect Client API OData API endpoint, which I explaining that you can use in the non-Sitecore context. And third is you can directly access the Sitecore xDB database. So from my understanding and experience, so I was able to identify 6 ways which can be utilized to get the data out of a XConnect, and we can create a reporting as per our need. So one is that you can create a batch job which will be running in an off business hour, right? And that batch job generally needs to be run on the CD server, and it will use the XConnect client API namespaces, and it will access the data because Sitecore XConnect client API is providing you a search functionality also. You can get all the contact from your system based on any of the data you wanted. And once you are having a contact, you can get all their history from the system. That is a one way. And other way is that you can use the OData endpoints and push the orchestrated data to the Azure Data Factory. There you can build a data set as per your need, and then you can push to Power BI. Third way is that you can directly consume a XConnect client API into the Power BI, but you need to remove the authentication because OData will be not accepting you can say that a the credentials where you need to pass a user ID and password. It will just take a API endpoint only. And other part is that you can use the Sitecore XConnect service plugins. That is a one more feature provided by the Sitecore, which can be utilized to push the real-time data to any system. And fifth is that you can create a batch job which will access your database, and you will push that database to any other database, or you will create a replica of your data, whatever the database you are having, you will sync. That is another way, and you can push that data directly to your Power BI system. And third is that if you are having an enterprise organization who are doing the business in more than one vertical, like they are in the hospitality, they are in the travel industry, they are having the grocery stores, generally those organizations will be making a customer 360-degree view in their data lake, like Hadoop or any other data lake. So they are capturing the data from all the systems and pushing into a centralized location. So in those cases, you can utilize the message queue system like a Kafka, and you will push the data from Kafka, and downstairs system will read it as per their need. So in the upcoming slide, I will be explaining about how it will be look like if you are trying to implement it. So I have tried to explain with the help of a flow. So if you will see this flow, so suppose you are a new user, you are coming to your website, you are registering via registration form, and you are submitting the data. So once you are registering, you will be setting your user ID and password also. Suppose you are having the Okta type of system as a IAM system, so you will send some registration data there also, and that can trigger a user ID and the password email to you, and all the PI data and other data which you need to store into the Sitecore with Sitecore contact entity, you can push to Sitecore X Connect, and then you will be having your batch job which will be reading your XConnect client API, and on the basis of a update, last modified date and time, it will pick up the contact and it will sync all the data, orchestrate data. For example, I will store the data in a normal format like first name, last name, like this, not in the JSON format which I shown you in the database. I will create a separate new table in my other database, and I can do that. Or I am having another system which is having some sort of database schema, I can push to that also. So that is the option one. This will be running in the Sitecore context. So the second option is that where you are pushing the data, and you will be having you will be using the XConnect Web API in your Azure Data Factory, which can directly consume your API endpoint, and there you will be orchestrating all your data, right? And from there you can push data to any database, or from the runtime also you can push data to your Power BI or anywhere. And there is a one limitation with the Power BI is that if you are using the Power BI endpoints, then those endpoints will be able to accept I think a 300 requests in a 10 minutes. After that, it will take a pause, it will deny your request. So if you are having a more load on your website, so you cannot rely on the Power BI API endpoint. That is another thing. So option 3 is there. You will use the XConnect client API endpoint, and you can directly integrate that into the Power BI connector, and that will sync the data into the Power BI dataset, and from there you can build up the report. Fourth option is that there is a XConnect client API service plugin is there. So what will happen that, for example, if you are creating a new contact and you are setting the facet, so suppose if you will fire a code base like a contact.set facets, then also it will be called, and you can capture whatever the custom facets or out of the box facets you are sending a data, you will catch in this pipeline. And if you will add the contact also, then also you will be able to catch which contact have been saved or updated. So this is also a very good thing if you need to capture a user data at a runtime itself. But this code also needs to be run into your CD server itself, because This is a custom pipeline, you need to write it, so it will be running on your CD server itself. And from that you can capture the data and push to any data source where you can get JSON file or any data sources of your need. And fifth option is that you will directly accessing the database via a batch job, or you will sync with the Power BI, because Power BI also you can directly sync data which is available online. So that is also doable. And if you are having the data, you can do anything with the system. And the sixth option I was telling you, it's a Kafka base. So whatever the operation, for example, I am using the XConnect service plugin, right? Which will just take the data and it will send to the Kafka. In Kafka is a message queue system. You need to uh, define the events and the schema of all your messages. So those practice, or you can say that the analysis we have to do it, what type of message we need to push, so that listener can listen that message, and whenever any new message is there, and they can insert data into their system. So that is another way. And whenever you are proposing any sort of solution to your client, so always better to evaluate those options, because every requirement is having some sort of criteria like a performance, scalability, security. So all these things you need to be consider while proposing, and you need to, at the end, from a developer point of view, you need to share with client that I have having these many options, and on the basis of this requirement, this is the ratings. So you need to propose in that manner. Now their technical team can go through whatever the data points you have provided, and they can select the best option. So that criteria you need to follow while proposing any solutions. So any questions till that point in terms of a ways to access the XConnect and XDB data? No? Fine.
Nope, I guess we're good.
So yeah. So now I will be showing the integration with the Power BI, because I am not having access with the Power BI. So I have tried to capture the way which uh, you can use to build the Power BI based report from the XDB. So you already seen that in the previous we can push the data to the Power BI with the help of a API or a direct interaction, or a integrating their XConnect API directly. So when you are using the, for example, a Power BI API, so for your need, you need to create a first the data set or data schema into your Power BI if you are using the Power BI API to push data from one system to the Power BI. So that is a first steps you need to do that. But if you are directly giving a database access to the Power BI, so what you can do that uh, from all of the options like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, suppose you are getting a data into a custom database, then you will be having a raw data set. Data set is nothing but a collection of the data tables, right? So raw data will be having, so generally what people will do, they will create a replica of actual Sitecore database in the Power BI. So that will be having all your raw data set, means you can push data from a WebDB also, and from the XConnect here, because sometimes you need to make a relationship with your WebDB also to get the name of your page name or anything. So in those cases, you will be syncing all your XDB data in a step 1, and in the step 2, those that is called a data flow. So you are taking data from the raw data set, and now you are into the data flow. Data flow will give you the access of a data set. Now what you can do that, you are having the raw data. Now what you will do, you will there are the options are present in the Power BI. With the help of that, you can convert the rows in the any table into a column. So as you saw in the earlier previous slide that we are having all the custom facets in the form of a JSON, right? So with the help of a Power BI inbuilt tool or a functionality, you can get all the contact facets in a normal table format also. Now coming to the data flow step 3. So what we will do, suppose in the second step, you have just orchestrated a one level of data like converted JSON data to a normal table. Now in the step 3 where we will be providing a more granular level data orchestration, right, or data massaging. So what we will do, we will try to filter it data. For example, if uh, you are having a test user also, we can put a condition from a normal table that ignore all the records where the username is test or the email address is having this test email. And also, if you need to create another table in the Power BI, right, those also can be done in the step 3. So after doing all the refinement, now we will be coming to the step 4. That is nothing but you will be creating again a data set out of the all the data tables you are having, which can be directly available into the step 5 where you can create the reports. So with these 5 steps, you can refine all the data which is required by your Power BI. And Power BI is also providing you you can say that the query language like a DAX, which is very helpful if you need to manipulate any sort of data. So that is also very useful. If some things which is not out of the box in the Power BI, you can write your DAX query and you can manipulate all set of data in that. So this is some sort of a flow. If you will create whatever the flow I explained in the previous slide. So once you will set up, it will look like this only. So data flow will be there, step 1, step 2, and the data set and the reports are coming in the step 5. So now, as I was telling you, the step 1 is that you will be having all raw data. So you are seeing here I am having a xDB interaction table items from the Sitecore WebDB. All I have been collected in my step 1. And in step 1, if you are seeing, you will be having a contact ID, facets key, and these things are present from the facets. Now in the orchestration level 1, in the step 2, you can convert that data into a normal format. So here I haven't displayed all the fields, but you can have this percentile and you will be having a first name and last name. All you can do in that, like in the below you are able to see, right? In the step 3, I have more making a granular level orchestration or the data massaging. So I have created a simple flat table where you will be having a contact ID, first name, last name, department, and is valid flag is also that you can implement with the help of a DAX query. So now after you are having all the data, so you can prepare this type of dashboard. But this dashboard is not present in the Sitecore analytics reporting. Like it is giving you a total number of visits, page views. Suppose you are having a metadata or a tagging. For example, you are creating a more articles based on the tag like a yoga, running, strength, cycling, right? So how your meta tag are performing in your website and which meta tag is liked by most of the users. So this type of reporting is not having in the Sitecore out of the box. But after all your data messaging and manipulation at a Power BI, you can build this report and it can give you the total number of page view. These are the normal things which is generally required by the business user. And this data will be always helpful to create a new set of content or whichever the section of your website is not performing well. With this, they can decide it. And this is a one more type of reports like a how many users are accessing a which type of metadata. This will also can be created. And above you are seeing that some sort of data which I have orchestrated in the step 4, and you can display also in the reporting. And you can also create a view because you are capturing the zip code of the user, so you can also provide a individual user view to your business owner or the users or content author. They can see that if specific user how many times it's accessing and what type of goals they have subscribed, how many assets they have downloaded, so what is their engagement value. So all this can be done from the Power BI if you have pushed the data and data massaging is done on that. That's it from my side for the today. And now I am open for any questions if you are having.